What I think be interesting to talk about is a bit more about the sort of almost technical side, the manufacturing side, because a lot of our clients are, that's something that they're maybe not so well versed at, but it's something they're interested in to understand how to get that product to market. And obviously with something like your initial product, which is your ready meals, you've got short shelf life.
Yeah.
It's about how did you sort of work with that, securing the shelf space, reducing the waste, which is obviously a big problem in any sort of chilled thing.
Because no one wants to cover that, the brand, the retailer. Everyone's keen to.
And obviously the manufacturer does some of that, but it'd be good to understand your experience of that.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. So I guess the good thing about working in chilled short shelf life is we found a manufacturer that was already selling products to the retailers. So we got a lot of understanding and got a lot of knowledge from them, and we still do. So any manufacturer that we approach, we try and approach via a recommendation from a retailer. And I'll give you a quick example. So, you talk about how we're in a number of different categories, right? So we went from chilled meals into frozen meals was our first jump.
Okay.
And that was actually driven by the Asda buyer at the time, because he was like, oh, I've got a brand here, but a brand is declining, a big well-known brand is declining. I need something that's going to be a bit more challenger, and obviously we're not going to say no. So we're like, oh, who do you recommend we should speak to? And that is always the good thing, because then they've got the safety and supply and the knowledge and the understanding of everything and how it works. So we were doing a lot of learning from them in terms of how the supply chain works. How often the products are made, how often they're delivered into the different depots, etc. The wastage piece is an interesting one, and there are certain times of the year where wastage is higher than when it isn't. But the good thing about what we've built is, so I spent all of those years in terms of whilst we had no listings, on building a community. And I built a community particularly on social. So we were like posting memes, but I was also going around doing interviews with influencers, just talking to them about their journeys and their stories, and almost trying to use them as a bit of a platform for them to come on board. So we had probably about 5,000 followers before we'd even launched at all on Instagram. So because we had a bit of a community, and then the Asda buyer only put us in kind of a small amount of stores to start off with, but it was enough for the manufacturer to press the button. That's kind of what helped with that whole wastage piece, because then you're going, actually the rate of sales are really good because you're in a lower amount of stores, and now we can just keep on building on that. And then the more we kept building on that, the more we got more of a brand presence, the more we then kept building on community. So one of the things a lot of people won't see is sometimes people talk about, you've got to shout the loudest. Actually, we're in like fitness groups. Personal trainers are recommending us. We're in communities where you can't actually see that we are being talked about and we're being recommended. So because of that, as we expand out into more places, we become more accessible. So we don't then have that challenge of wastage. And obviously, then it comes back to, if we do, because, let's say we've got 7 SKUs in one retailer, there's always going to be a tail, right?
Yeah.
What we do is we try and make sure that we're consistently on the forefront, ready to evolve on what those SKUs look like. So working on MPD as far out as possible to go, okay, these 2 aren't working, we've got a new recipe, let's do this. Or we speak to the buyers as well and we go, all right, guys, if these aren't working in this many stores, why don't we actually reduce them, because there's still a core customer here that likes this, and then go there? Because that's the best way to protect your brand, is work as closely as possible with the retailers to ensure that there aren't really any surprises. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've launched products that have absolutely tanked, and we're both just sitting here like, yep, okay, it's not working. So, we've got to pull them. There's no point in me, the manufacturer, and the retailer losing money. And I guess there's a real realistic nature about how we work with things, as long as it's reasonable and as long as we're all communicating. That is how we really manage it. But the wastage piece is about how you actually drive rate of sale, not thinking about trying to get wastage down. Just trying to look at it the other way.
Yeah, and like you say, keeping in communication with the buyers, because you don't want them coming to you and saying, we've got a problem here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly it. You want to be going, all right, this is what's going on. Yeah. These are probably a little bit higher than the others. How do we, kind of reduce it? How do we look at stuff like case size changes? Do you know what I mean? If we're in a case size of 6, does a case size of 4 work? It might be a little bit more costly, but it will actually reduce that waste anyway. Do you know what I mean? So it's just being proactive with those elements.